Koner, member for Rangwe, member of Lands Committee.
William Kisang, MP Marakwet West, member of the Delegated Committee.
Esther Murugi Madenge, member of this committee, Lands Committee.
Thomas Madegu, MP Bundanyi, Taita Taveta County, and a member of Lands Committee.
Zipora Kering, member of Parliament Nandi County, friend of the committee.
Sharif Athman Ali, Lamu East Member of Parliament, member of Lands Committee.
Honorable Matthew, MP Laikipia, member of Land Committee.
Members, if you can use the mic near you, the members by the front row. Just put it so that
Charles Gimose, Hamithi, Delegated Committee.
Rachel Mesomolo, County MP Kakamega, member of Delegated Legislature.
Zainab Chizuga, County MP Kwale, Delegated Committee.
Network Cristino, member Delegated Committee of Legislation.
Before we come in front here, there's a member who has not put his voice in the mic, and I think is a member of Parliament too, the one in my far right. So can you begin there as you come this side?
Chairman, it was not my turn. Thank you. However, my name is John Munube. I represent the resilient and good people of Winter North. Amicus Corey to the committee. Thank you.
Honorable Elisha Bushenei. Honorable Elisha Bushenei, member of Parliament, Arbo Constituency, Wasingishu County, Delegated Legislation.
Wait.
Helen Chepkwony, Kericho County, member of Parliament and Lands Committee member.
Simba Raji, member of Parliament, the Great North, a member of the committee.
Mohamed Adan, MP Mandera South, member of Delegated Committee.
Under member Simba Rati, you've not said whether you're a member of which committee. Unless you can only tell me you're a member for that constituency that you... Chairman, the member of the Delegated Committee.
Engineer Sharif Manga, member for Kuria East, member of the Delegated
Thank you, Chair. My name is Joseph Magwanga, member of Parliament, Kasipul constituency, member of Lands Committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. My name is Benson Bai, MP Masinga, member of Lands Committee.
Shakil Abdallah, MP Lamu County, member Lands Committee.
Patrick Makau Kingola, MP Mavoko, member of Lands Committee.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm Joseph Gitari, MP for Kirinyaga Central, and the Vice Chairman of the Delegated Legislation Committee.
Jay Moiganjo, member for Oljoro constituency and a member of the Delegated Registration.
Moses Ole Sakuda, MP Kajiado West from the beautiful Kajiado County. Also the Vice Chair of the Lands Committee.
Mungala, I know you're laughing, but can you put your voice on that mic that is near you, even if you have not found a chair yet?
I'm Gideon Mungaro, member for Kilifi North and a member of this committee.
Which committee? What is joint?
Lands. Okay. I have interest.
Put your voice there.
Kwa majina naitwa Honorable Julius Ndegwa, mjumbe wa Lamu Magharibi. Lance.
Alvin. Okay. My name is Honorable William Cheptumo, Member of Parliament, Baringo North, Chair, Delegated Legislation Committee.
And mine is Alex Muiro, Member for Tharaka Nithi County, and Chair, Lands Committee, and co-chair for today's meeting. I want to know from the fourth estate who are here. You can speak from wherever you are. We are not going to use the mic, but we want to know these are the fourth government, the arm of the government, the fourth one. Who are here? It is working. It's not working.
It's working.
You have to put off that one so that you hear me. Yeah. You can hear me now. Yes, for the estate, please. Let's know which media houses are here.
Maybe he can't hear.
It looks this is a very strong government also. It has got a lot of membership. But all you are welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I also have my secretariat. I also have my secretariat. The joint secretary today is Wasike Makoha, who also doubles up as a clerk for delegated registration. We also have our hands-on person, Mr. Eric Onelieka. And I've seen another member who has just walked in. I've seen two members who have just walked in. Maybe please just use your mic yourself. There's a mic close to you here. Maybe, yeah. Use that, please.
My name is Bernard Shinali, MP Kolomani, member of the Delegated Legislation Committee.
They walked in? Yes, there's another one who has walked in.
I am Paul B. MP Chepalungo, Delegated Committee.
Thank you so much. We shall begin straight away, and for those other members who might walk in as we continue, they may not have any privilege to introduce themselves because it will be too late. We therefore I want to take the opportunity once again to welcome the Cabinet Secretary, Lands, Housing and Urban Development. I'm sorry, Cabinet Secretary, on behalf of the committee, if you only got this information and 10 today, what I know plenty well have been talking to your office, and at times telling my secretary to talk to your office, then there is a problem somewhere which needed to be sorted out. I think it's not a matter that is very light. It's a matter that is heavy because you need to have been informed in advance. You need to have been able to prepare yourself. But nevertheless, certainly you already seized on the matter because it's a matter that came to the floor of the House last week. And being a national figure you are, you cannot, and I know you cannot fail to be following some of the things that are happening within and around you and about yourself. So before us today, there's a Cabinet Secretary members who are aware for lands, and we are not going to deal with so much things. You know, the question was put to us as a Committee of Lands, and Committee on Delegated Legislation. On the last afternoon, by Honorable Joseph Gitari, MP for Kirinyaga Central, and that is what necessitated the Speaker that moment to give us this responsibility as two committees to check on whether we can be able to finish up the matter and report the same to the Parliament tomorrow, Wednesday, because of its urgency, as it was ruled by the Speaker then. The matter revolves around the appointment of a Director General of Lands within your ministry, Cabinet Secretary, and a Gazette notice number 13766. 13766 of 11th October 2013. So the gist of the whole matter lies within there. And it is so stated in the gazettement that you need this under the powers conferred upon you by the Constitution of Kenya, the Land Act, the Land Registration Act, those three instruments of law. So we are not going to dwell outside there, members, because I think that's the matter that we are trying. Yes, Honorable Nini Kega.
Yeah, point of order. The reason I'm raising on a point of order, I thought we would first of all read the statement as it were, so that at least he can actually get the gist of everything. The statement as it was read on the floor of the House.
Let the secretary check the statement so that we can read. Or do you have it there in the file? Just let me have it. They have not been distributed. Fine.
Mr. Chair.
Is that a point? Oh,
Yes, Mr. Chair, I also wondered whether maybe I've just been able to make a few copies of the same answer. Can it be passed around?
they can be circulated. They can be circulated. Where is the...
And Mr. Chair is together with all other questions that came with the request this morning. So maybe others that are not of
others that are not of use relevant today, we can always keep them.
You can keep them until we meet next time.
All right.
Okay.
I can now read. Cabinet Secretary, kindly please switch off the mic so that you can hear me. Thank you. Thank you so much. I can read the full statement the way it was framed by the honourable member. It is pursuant to standing order for the 42C, whereby the Honourable Gitari requested for a statement from the leader of the majority party on the recent appointment of the Director General of Lands by the Cabinet Secretary. The Honourable Member quotes Lands Act and Land Registration Act of 2012, under which the Cabinet Secretary derived a mandate, or purported to derive a mandate from, to gazette the same. And yet the Cabinet Secretary single-handedly appointed the owner of this office. And the questions are, why the Cabinet Secretary revokes the appointment of one Mr. Zabron Mabea, who was a presidential appointee and a former commission of lands from signing titles. 2, why the Cabinet Secretary appointed Mr. Peter Kangede Kahuho as the acting Director General, despite the fact that the National Land Commission faulted the move. And 3, why the government seal was removed from Earth House and taken to Ruaraka Survey Field Office. 4, the Cabinet Secretary was to state, or I was to state after getting the answer from the Cabinet Secretary, the procedure of appointment of such public officers or officers. And lastly, why 1,700 leases prepared prior to the appointment of the new Director General have not been signed yet. Those are the questions for Cabinet Secretary, and those are the questions, honorable members, on the 4th Estate. So that is where we are, madam, and that is the most crucial thing, or the question we wanted to have answers on. And it is yes, very urgent, because we also, as a committee, as a joint committee, are supposed to report back to Parliament by tomorrow. Remembering that yesterday was a public holiday as well, so we are suffering from the same problem. Of course, information coming very quickly to the offices, and of course giving back the reports. So therefore, Madam Chair, although I apologize, and indeed I apologize still, it is that urgency that you find that we have to call you urgently. Now, you may refer to your act as you make a preamble report or preamble response. You may look at the acts that you have quoted or the pieces of law you have quoted, and if possible, you can guide us on the sections, because I think we have the law books with us here that we can afford to refer quickly. Maybe just an overview before we get to the major questions that we want to ask you. Just explaining.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, my co-chair, yes.
Thank you, my co-chair. Before the CS responds to the issues, there is a question arising, I believe, in the minds of most of us here. Why delegated legislation is present in a matter which is purely touching on land? So I felt it was good for me to explain that part, so that as we deal with this issue, our presence as a committee should be very clear. Standing order number 210 of our standing orders creates the Committee on Delegated Legislation. And the mandate of that committee, among other issues, that is Standing Order 210.3. The committee shall consider, in respect only of any statutory instrument, whether 1 is in accord with the provisions of the Constitution, the act pursuant to which it is made, or other relevant written laws. Therefore, when the Gazette notice was published, it became an instrument. And this instrument was tabled before the House. That is how the Committee on Legislation came on board and why it is here. To address only 2 issues, actually basically 1. If this Gazette notice is published, does it contravene the Constitution? Does it contravene the Act of Parliament pursuant to which it is made? And finally, does it contravene any other written law? And therefore, as we deal with the issue, it is basically a matter touching on land. That is how the issue of the legality or otherwise of the Gazetteers Commission, and I thought, Chair, it would have been good for me to really explain that point so that we really move together. Thank you very much.
My co-chair, you're completely in order, and I think that one is also noted. So you can continue, Cabinet Secretary, Madam.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, honorable members of Parliament of Lands Committee and Committee of Delegated Powers. I wish to respond as follows. The Commissioner of Lands was appointed under the Registration of Titles Act, Cap 281 of Laws of Kenya, which was repealed by the Land Registration
on the Cabinet
Act.
Secretary, please.
Yes.
On the Cabinet Secretary, I thought you had already circulated those answers, and I think members are asking where they are, including myself as chair. We don't have.
Page 5. Page 5.
Page 5. I feel the chairman should have been privileged.
Two chairs, bro.
Sorry, Cabinet Secretary, you can continue.
I again want to say, usually we are not this many. I usually have to bring about 20 copies or so. But today we are more than what we usually are. So, Mr. Chairman, I want to answer as follows. That the Commissioner of Lands was appointed under the Registration of Titles Act, Cap 281 of the Laws of Kenya, which was repealed by the Land Registration Act of 2012. This new act does not provide for the office of the Commissioner of Lands. After the repeal of the Registration of Titles Act 281, the Commissioner of Lands, Mr. Zablon Mabea, was administratively redesignated to Land Secretary, something that was not even gazetted at that time. I've tried to check whether there was any gazette notice for that, and I found that there wasn't. Mr. Chair, you are aware that the position of Commissioner of Lands was actually position that was usually appointed by the President himself, and therefore it was delegated powers given to the Commissioner of Lands until 27th of August 2010, when we promulgated the new constitution, and this position did not exist anymore. Therefore, that's how Mabea was appointed that time, and how he has continued to work in that office till on the 11th of October 2013. B, Mr. Chairman, where the Cabinet Secretary appointed Mr. Peter Kangebe Kahuo as the Director General, despite the National Land Commission who voted the above move. I want to say that the Ministry of Land, Housing and Urban Development is currently being restructured under directorates in accordance with the Presidential Executive Order number 2 of 2013, which merged the former Ministries of Lands, Housing, National, Nairobi Metropolitan and Public Works, and the Department of Urban Development, previously under the Ministry of Local Government. In this respect, the following directorates have been created to improve the services of the ministry: Lands Directorate, Housing Directorate, Public Works Directorate, Urban Development Directorate, and some Support Services Directorate of the one ministry, which used to have actually 4.5 or more or less 5 ministries. Mr. Chairman, to fast track the harmonization of the functions and ensure achievement of the ministerial performance targets for the year 2013-2014, I have deployed the individual officers to head the above directorates. It is therefore in this respect that I deployed Mr. Peter Kangebe Kahuo as Acting Director General for the Lands Directorate. among others pending approval and the formalization by the Public Service Commission. The matter, Mr. Chair, was discussed by the National Land Commission and therefore I'm not aware that National Land Commission Chair and the Commission was not aware. Question number C, why the government seal was removed from Ardhi House and taken to Araka Survey Field Office. Mr. Chair, I do not understand this one at all, because there is no seal that has been moved from Ardhi House to any place and taken to Araka or another office. However, if need arises, a seal can always be taken to any government office where it is required. For instance, if you're talking about a seal, Mr. Chair, recently I've had to move seals from the entire coastal, registries to bring them to the headquarters, plus the registrars, to ensure that they could sign all the titles that we were actually distributing recently to the coastal area. So if that is what this means, then that is possible and it can be done. And D, the state, I am asked to state the procedure of appointment of such public officers. I wish to answer as follows. Following the release of the executive order, the Ministry of State for Devolution and Planning, Directorate of Public Service Management issued a circular letter, which I have here, Mr. Chair, number MSPS/HRM/14/1/72 of 14th of June to all permanent secretaries, authorized officers directing restructuring and the rationalization of the current government ministries, departments, in line with the order. Consequently, therefore, Mr. Chairman, the Management Consultancy Services Division in the Directorate of Public Service Management appointed a team of consultants to come up with a report on restructuring and the staffing of the ministry. The team came up with a draft report and recommended that the ministry be reorganized in 4 technical directorates, each headed by a director general. Guided by this draft report, Mr. Chair, while awaiting finalization of the report and in order for work to flow in the ministry, I appointed officers to head the directorates in acting capacity. This therefore includes Mr. Kahuho, the senior most land administrator, to head the Directorate of Lands in acting capacity. All the above appointments, as I said, Mr. Chair, are on acting capacity and will be substantively filled by the Public Service Commission in the normal manner, as in all cases which do not fall under delegated powers. And the final question, E, Mr. Chairman, there are many grants and leases that had been prepared and forwarded to former Commissioner of Lands for execution under the transition provisions. However, he was unable to sign them, sometimes citing ill health. The issue of signing grants and leases is being discussed between myself and the National Land Commission in consultation with the Attorney General. Mr. Chairman, that's the answer that I have.
Thank you for that answer. And as members prepare to shoot questions to you, I wish that a copy of that letter, number MSPS HRM/14/1/72, be handed to the chair. for reference. 2, if possible, the report that recommended that the ministry be reorganized into 4 technical directorates. Maybe that report can be forwarded here so that we can look at it as well. Those are very straightforward things. 3, if you have the executive order copy, executive order number 2, would wish to see it as a committee. I repeat, maybe you have not gotten them. I'm talking of the letter you've referred in your answer with a reference of MSPS. 2, the draft report that recommended that the ministry be restructured or reorganized into 4 technical directorates. And 3, the executive order 2. If they are available, if they are not available, Madam, you can always seek time and know when you can drop to my secretariat.
Chairman.
Just a moment, Honorable Member.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, because of the short notice that I was given, I was not able to make all these reports that I have. Make copies enough for you, but I have got them. They can also always be dropped in your office.
Fortunately, you have said you have the letter MSPS, which you have said you have it there. So that one you can leave us with, is it? You can leave with the chair. Once it is with the chair, then the committee ceases of the same.
Okay.
Yes, Honorable Member for
Boni.
Boni.
Thank you, Chair. I was kindly requesting for the benefit of all the members and for proper information on what is transpiring. If kindly, either the letter, if it's passed to you and you read it to us, that letter MSPSHR, so that we can also be able to get an immediate grasp of what we are really dealing with. That would be very crucial as you also endeavor to put it on record in the files.
Yeah, we've consulted with my co-chair. It is okay. I will read it. Any other member with a concern before we move to the questions, please? Like the honorable member from Bonn has raised. When do you think you can drop the other papers requested, Honorable Cabinet Secretary?
By 11 o'clock tomorrow.
I think those ones are already in your records, in your files. And as you have heard, we are supposed to give this report in the afternoon of tomorrow. So we must also make a meeting tomorrow in the morning to check on the resolutions that we are supposed to do. Is it possible, because your minister I know is quite effective and I can see you are with your PS there, that they can be dropped at 9 to my secretariat?
If maybe, Mr. Chair, I'm just going to make that bit about lands. Otherwise, it's quite a bulky report. I'll make that bit about lands.
We are more concerned on that. By 9?
Mr. Chairman, let's say by 10 then. I'll get ourselves working early and we'll get it by 10 o'clock.
I think we are digital, and you are serving digital government, Jubilee. So even from there, you can start SMSing for those people who handle your confidential matters in the office to start photocopying. So I direct 9.
Registrar of the Judiciary is hereby removed from office with immediate effect.
This week on Chef Koinange Live, it is a bench that promises nothing short of fireworks. Wednesday, kicking it off in her very first sit-down interview since she was sacked as Chief Registrar of the Judiciary, Gladys Boss Cholet.
JSC is the accuser, it's the prosecutor, and it's the investigator.
Sitting side by side with her arch nemesis, the JSC's Ahmed Nasir Abdullahi.
I have never had a problem with that.
Somebody call G4S. It's going to be smoking. Wednesday, 10 p.m. live, only on Kenya's television network, KTN.
To get this song and the best top chart music, bonyeza star 699 star 8 hash. Just bonyeza star 699 star 8 hash now.
Keep potatoes for longer. Avoid storing potatoes near onions. Doing so will make the potatoes spoil sooner.
At last, the perfect stew. All you need is 1 tablespoon for 1 perfect stew.
In John's life, action runs non-stop. Now, I can't be with him all the time, 24 hours a day. That's why I've given him Dettol Soap's non-stop protection, which gives him 24 hours protection from germs. In the morning, afternoon, when he's up to mischief. Playing in the evening, non-stop protection keeps going on and on.
Indeed, Dettol Soap's non-stop protection formula has the power of Dettol, which gives non-stop protection from germs for 24 hours.
All day and all night.
Dettol, in partnership with the Kenya Medical Association. Dettol, be 100% sure.
It takes 1 second to enter, 1 second to come out of hiding, and 1 second to attack you.
Mosquito bites cause malaria.
1 second to infect you.
Not anymore. Now I won't give any of you even 1 second.
New Mortin Doom Power Guard.
Mortin Doom!
Mortin Doom Power Guard with new scientifically proven powerful formula not only kills faster but also longer by killing mosquitoes that surface later, and it keeps killing for up to 1 week.
Even 1 second counts when it's my family's protection.
Come on, they're asleep.
New Mortin Doom Power Guard. Nothing kills faster and keeps killing for longer. Soap with new improved fragrance provides 24 hours non-stop protection from germs and day-long protection from body odor that keeps you feeling fresh all day. For day-long healthy fresh feeling, bathe with Dettol Deo, Dettol Cool or Dettol Fresh. Dettol, in partnership with the Kenya Medical Association. Be 100% sure. That guarantees great savings. The future of washing clothes is liquid. Get Powerboy Proactive Liquid Detergent. Upgrade your washing today.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, if you look at the work of the Cabinet Secretary in the Constitution, Article 153, decisions, responsibility, and accountability of the Cabinet, and you look at 153, Subarticle 1, a decision by the Cabinet shall be in writing. Cabinet secretaries are accountable individually and collectively to the President for the exercise of their powers and the performance of their functions. A Cabinet Secretary shall attend before a committee of the National Assembly or as the Senate when required by the committee and answer any questions concerning a matter for which the Cabinet Secretary is responsible. Mr. Chairman, if you look at what I've got to do, and if I share with you that as a Cabinet Secretary, I have watched people come and go and delayed by papers that have not been signed in titles. And I share with you this afternoon, that looking back at what had not been done, over 20,000 title deeds had not been signed.
Cabinet Secretary, so that we can save time, I think it's necessary that we answer questions straight to the point. The way the question has been framed. Because what we are saying is that you are trying to quote, of course, that's why we are referring to our books of the Constitution, and I'm happy we are there. So if there is any problem that can arise there, the members can afford to interrogate you further.
Chair, just as she's done very well. I think she's mentioned Article 153(1) of the Constitution. That's proper. What's the other section of the Lands Registration Act and the Lands Act? That's all. I mean, just highlight them, and it will be useful for us.
Precisely.
The other one, Mr. Chair, is the Land Registration Act, and that is Article 108. And 110. You have anything?
Chair, maybe if just to ask, what specific sections of Section 108 of the Land Registration Act is it referring to, and what specific section of Article 1102 of the Land Registration Act are you referring to? What specifics?
Mr. Chair, I'm referring to until the Cabinet Secretary makes the regulations contemplated under Section 110, and you can check 110. Any rules, orders, regulations, directions, notices, forms, notifications, or other administrative acts made, given, issued, or undertaken before the commencement of this act, under any of the acts of Parliament repealed by this act or any other law, shall continue in force and shall be construed with the alterations, adaptations, qualifications, and exceptions necessary to bring them in conformity with this act. Mr. Chair, here I'll just use this law because we now know from the Constitution the position of Commissioner of Lands stopped existing after we promulgated the Constitution. The position of Land Secretary is not anywhere at all, Mr. Chair, in any of the acts, but guided by the executive order and from what we were taught to do with the directorates, this is what guided me, because that
point
is
of order, Chair.
an executive order.
A point of order, Chair. I think
a point of order, yes.
I'd really like not to interrupt the Honourable Cabinet Secretary, but I'd like her to leave alone the issues of the executive order and stick to the issues of law. And she's mentioned specifically Article 110 of the Land Registrations Act. But I'd also like to bring to your attention the provisions of Article 1102, that very article that you're reading. Perhaps if you look at it, then try to juxtapose it with what you just did. If Article 1102 of the Land Registration Act, how it compares with what you've done.
I'll give you a few moments to get there, Madam.
I'm there, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, yes, this is so. This is so. That is. It says in making the regulations, rules, or prescribing any matters required in this Act, the Cabinet Secretary shall take into account and advise the advice of the Commission as required. But we said, Mr. Chair, while we noted this, we realized that work was going to stop in the ministry. And actually work has stopped in the ministry.
Madam Cabinet Secretary, just on your statement, would you wish to...
Actually, Mr. Chair, if you look at it, they only say if something is substantive. And we looked at this and say that while we are waiting for the rules and regulations, then we can go ahead with this. Is Parliament considering this to be substantive, therefore? Or is this something that we can use the laws that we have and move on until we bring the rules and regulations before you?
Well, Madam, we are here to answer those questions, and we shall answer upon ourselves, not with you. So don't ask us. That's why you are here before us.
Yes, but Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, I need to ask: is this substantive that it has got to come before Parliament, which and yet is something that can be done in consultation with the National Land Commission, which has been passed by Parliament and the Cabinet Secretary, so that work in the ministry moves on?
Now that just before the before maybe we move to anything else, you have referred to the Land Registration Act, and which section of Land Act have you followed? Section of the Land Act.
Mr. Chairman, I did say 108 of the Land Registration Act.
No, I'm talking of the Land Act. Land Act.
In my Gazette notice, I said I used the laws that we have, the Constitution, and the acts of Parliament that have been passed. And these are some. We have one, the Land Registration Act 2012. We have the Constitution, and we also have the National Land Commission Act.
Point of order, Chair.
Yes, Honorable Dr. Tuoma.
Thank you, Chair. I didn't want to interrupt the Cabinet Secretary, but I think during introduction, she introduced, I think, the gentleman on her right as a state counsel, and I was thinking this issue between the Act and sections of the Act, I thought that he will be of benefit to the Cabinet Secretary. Otherwise, he should be fired with immediate effect. I'm just cautioning because
I'm happy to give our state council that work to do, Mr. Chair.
Because there is the issue of the Act and the section of the Act. And I think I'm just seeing him seated while the Cabinet Secretary is struggling with the papers. So, Chair, I wanted to rule whether that is in order. And he's a participant here.
Completely in order is not just a general participant. He's supposed to be helping the Cabinet Secretary. That's why she's the lawyer of the Cabinet Secretary, because he's a government lawyer. You cannot just keep quiet.
And maybe before...
let me guide them. Sorry. Let me guide a little bit here.
Let me say something before the State Council say something. Yes. The reason why we have a legal department in every ministry is so that the legal minds of those people in those offices do help the ministries to make right decisions. As you address us, Mr. State Council, can you tell us, in your opinion, whether it is in order and proper to issue a Gazette notice generally without quoting the enabling sections of the Constitution or the Lands Act or the Lands Registration Act? That is fundamental to you as a legal mind.
Let me do answer that.
Thank you very much, Chair. And indeed, it pertains to our profession. My client was on the floor, so I could not interrupt her because she had to give me the authority for her to come in and assist her in her representation. Now, I want to inform this particular committee that indeed, prior to the publication of this particular Gazette notice, the Ministry of Lands and the Office of the Attorney General had informal discussions about the situation.
Are you saying informal or formal?
It was informal consultations. Informal consultation, because there is a pending opinion which was subsequently forwarded to us by the ministry, which we are still working on, and at this particular moment when we are before this committee, it has yet to be dispatched to the Ministry of Land. That's why I'm saying that we've had informal engagement between the ministry and ourselves as the advocates for the ministry. Now, I want to say, and let me quickly respond to the issue that has been raised by the Honorable Vice Chair, whether it is proper for any Gazette.
Let me guide you, Honorable. Let me guide you, my brother.
Yeah.
It's a co-chair, not my vice chair.
Oh, sorry. Thank you. I stand guided. Is the issue about the structure of the Gazette notice, whether it is proper to cite provisions of the law without indicating the particular provisions of the law that is normally cited. I think in this particular instance, and I want to be very candid, that it must have been an oversight on the ministry for having forwarded this Gazette notice without citing the correct provisions of the law which they are relying upon. But I want to generally state that the ministry was very aware about a serious lacuna which apparently occurred following the enactment of this land legislation. Under the old dispensation, we had the position of the Commission of Lands, which was a position which was created by the President. Subsequently, there was enacted the Land Registration Act, which repealed the former old legislation and created the position of the Chief Land Registrar. As you might be aware, and for the honorable members who are trained in legal profession, will agree that this position of the Chief Land Registrar is a position that requires to be filled by the Public Service Commission. As we are speaking right now, that position had not been filled. So in the interim, it created a situation where there is a lot of title deeds which were lying at the Ministry of Lands, yet there was no proper authority to sign them. And I think that is the wisdom which informed the Honorable Minister in her wisdom to establish this office of the Acting Director General, and like she has indicated, it had the approval of the National Land Commission, which, as you all aware, has the mandate constitutionally to advise the government on the registration process.
Probably you will be of great importance, yes, being a lawyer.
Correct, sir.
Probably to provide that opinion which was discussed between the ministry and the Attorney General to this committee.
Correct.
That opinion, we shall need to know to see it. Where is it?
Okay, thank you very much. As I indicated, the opinion is still in the process. As you're speaking, we are still working on it, because one of the issues that we were discussing is the precise mandate of the Ministry of Lands in the registration process. And like you're all aware, that this is Am I clear, sir?
No.
Point of order. That's why you can see so many hands up.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman.
Let me begin with the Simbarat and then I come to you.
Chair. Just an observation, a quick one actually, Mr. Chairman. He has just indicated that it was an overlap on overlook of oversight. Was it intentional, Mr. Chairman? Because they cannot, Chair, under those sections that the Madam Cabinet Secretary is saying, she's only telling us 108, 110. She can't really tell us what is in it. How is it built to form the opinion that they came out to gazette?
Honorable member, that is the same direction I think we were trying to put the gentleman on the issue of the, and that is exactly what my co-chair has. So we would want to move faster than get back. But if you have an extra question on that, please go ahead, Bwana Simbarat.
Let another person first of all ask and we can be able to have it.
Honorable Macau, you'll have to wait a bit because one of the senior viewers has been
not really senior, but I just want to. I've heard you saying that it was an oversight from your very office for something not to have been in the Gazette notice. So are you telling this committee? Yes. Are you telling us that this actually is it's an illegal Gazette notice because it's not? There was an oversight to include.
Be able to take maybe one or two if they are so directed to you, yes. One or two and answer together so that at least you can take a paper and note, please,
Correct.
So that at least we can afford to finish quickly. Honorable Macau, then Honorable Shinaria.
Yes, Mr. Chair, I'm also insisting on the oversight, and I'm wondering, the Attorney General is supposed to approve all publications in the Kenya Gazette notice. What happened to this one?
Just note that, please. Honorable Shinari. Those two. Yeah. Members feel that you answer those two first before you get confused. Then I stand directed by members as well.
Okay. Thank you very much, Chair. I'll start with the latter question, which is a little easy to answer. We have a policy guidance on how we process legal documents, including Gazette notices. And in most instances, you find that the documents, if they're not passed on to the Honorable Attorney General, but the ministry is given also the liberty, they have the liberty of taking the Gazette notices to the government printer without necessarily informing us. I want to say that in this particular instance, this is one case where the ministry, because of the urgency of the circumstances, it had forwarded the document to the ministry, to the government printer without formally informing the Office of Attorney General. And that's why I believe that these lapses duly occurred. But it was never intentional, it was never deliberate.
Honour Vice Chair, are you saying that he has not answered your first question? Thank you. Continually answer the first question that was asked by Honourable.
Okay, the first question is whether, in these particular circumstances, if the provisions of the law are omitted in any illegal Gazette notice, renders the document null and void, that it is illegal. But, Chair, this is a procedural step, if you ask me an opinion. It is the content of the legal notice that it's supposed to be determined. In this particular instance, if there's an omission, is an omission to cite a particular provision of the law, that one I do not think we can take away the legality of the document, because we can always countercheck the relevant legislation and confirm whether such an law exists or not, and whether the person who drew the document had the authority or not. That is just it.
Clarification?
Chair, just a couple of things on what he says. I mean, I'm happy that he says if there are provisions of the law that the draft of the instrument is relying on, then it makes it substantive and does not make it illegal. I'm with you on the same page. But on this particular one, we asked the Cabinet Secretary to show us what specific provisions of those articles she was relying on. She mentions in the Gazette notice, and please read it if you have a copy of that, that once she's acting in pursuant to the Constitution, which she did mention Article 153 of the Constitution. The second thing she did mention, she's acting in pursuant to the Land Registration Act. She's already mentioned Article 108 of the Lands Act and also Article 110 of the Lands Act. But I asked her to read Article 1102 of the Lands Registration Act, which makes this particular provision, if it was an important provision of law, to be approved by Parliament. So she has to tell us, for example, that this is either important or not important on the first part. If at all it's important, then it needs to get the sanction of Parliament as a procedural issue. If it's not important, then I do not understand why it should be so pressurized. It should put the minister under so much pressure that you want to urgently execute it. That's the other thing. The third is she did mention the provisions of the Lands Act. If she then needs to highlight for us the provisions of the Lands Act. Okay, if she does highlight those 3 sections, of course, then I'll be with you on the agreement that then the documents are not a nullity. But if she cannot then highlight them, then perhaps we need to question if they are legal or not. But as she does that, she also needs to tell us if she appreciates that this sort of appointment is an appointment in the public service. And in case it is, how does that then compare to Article 234, 1G of the Constitution and Article 232G of the Constitution? Is there a provision of the Constitution that makes you make appointments to the Public Service Commission on an interim basis? And if there's such a provision, then we're on the same page. But if there's no such a provision of the law, then what is she acting based on? Thank you.
I hope, Madam Cabinet Secretary, you...
Point of order, Chair.
Honorable Ngilu, what is the point of order which is so burning?
Chairman, I think before we continue, the State Council, aware, because I feel like probably is misleading this committee. I think the Ministry of Lands have an existing position of Chief Land Registrar, and also there's an office holder for that office. Unless he wanted to explain us on the position of Commissioner of Land. I think there's a Chief Land Registrar and there's a position of Chief Land Registrar.
I get you, Honorable Ngilu, and I think to add to that so that she's able to answer together, which is just related to yours from the chair now here, is that the Land Registration Act never envisaged something like Director General of Lands to sign titles, but it envisaged a Chief Land Registrar to do that job. Do we still have a Chief Land Registrar in the ministry? Yes, point of order. Point of order is here with the Honorable Onel.
Mr. Chair, with due respect, I think there's a small confusion in your statement because the Commissioner of Lands, as it were before, had a Chief Land Registrar. The existence of a Chief Land Registrar under the Land Registration Act does not do away with the requirement that somebody else signs titles. The position being created under DG, the Director General, is supposed to convey interest, which is then registered by the Registrar of Titles. So the legal counsel himself got meddled up in issues. He was not supposed to bring the issue of Chief Land Registrar because it's relevant to our discussion. Our discussion is about who is supposed to sign the title in the absence of the Commissioner of Lands. And she has said that there are regulations to come to Parliament. And we know those regulations are the ones to stipulate who is supposed to sign the titles. Before those regulations reach the House, how can titles be signed? That is what we need to deal with.
And how many officers? And how many officers? Because there can be confusion.
Exactly. And I think the most important question the Cabinet Secretary is supposed to highlight to us here today is why is it taking too long to make issuance of titles legal? Because I can assure you, if somebody were to challenge those titles signed by Mabea, all this time, you can actually get knocked out in court. Because there is no regulation allowing Mabea to sign any titles. You're also coming up with another stopgap measure. Why don't you just go the full hog, get us the regulations in the House, so we give you substantively we're supposed to sign the titles. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
What is your point of order, Honorable Simbarat?
Mr. Chair, I believe that the member, I don't know if it's in order, because this could have been information we are getting from them, actually not advising them on how to deal with our case that we have put before. I don't think that it could be in order, Mr. Chairman.
No, well, I think it's in order. The member is under Honorable Simbarat. Honorable Ngilu is quite in order. because those are some of the things that we should also be oversighting and guiding even the Cabinet Secretary as well there, as our role of the people who make the law, to make sure that the right procedures are done. And that's why she's here, because probably a small procedure was not followed. So she needs also to understand this. So I think, O'Neill, you are in order. Let's the madam answer.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I'm aware 110 that says that I need to bring this for approval by Parliament. But Mr. Chair, also, and I say this, if you look at Land Act, it also gives...
Which section, madam? We can refer there, we have the books.
Land Act, Section 6.
Yes. Proceed.
It says that the Cabinet Secretary shall, in relation to the management and administration of land, facilitate, if you look at and B, develop policies on land upon the recommendation of the Commission. As I said, we have been working together. Facilitate the implementation of land policy and reforms. And this is what
Point of order, Chair.
I looked at.
Point of order, Chair.
This your point of order shall always be.
Mr.
Chair, just a minute. What does the Cabinet Secretary...
I'll protect you very soon, Cabinet Secretary. Don't worry. But I think it's the heat I'm getting out of the hands of the people so that at least we can start working properly.
Sorry, Cabinet Secretary, but the section referring to means that you need to get recommendation from the Commission, if my understanding of the law is correct. So what recommendations of the Commission are you acting upon?
Mr. Chair, I already said that we did agree that there was going to be serious problem if we do not have somebody to sign the titles. And by the way, Mr. Chair, I have a letter from Mr. Mabea himself saying that over 20,000 titles are still lying in his office and he cannot continue signing. And therefore, I wondered whether we were going to have that kind of a thing. People are waiting for their titles and we cannot make a decision. And I'm sitting there as the Cabinet Secretary. I know what this means to the economy of this country, and I just cannot do anything. So I acted and I gazetted. And even, let me also say, the Land Secretary, that position of Land Secretary did not exist anywhere and nobody even gazetted it. But it was acceptable. So here are we talking about the person who has been moved out or the work that is done.
Point of order, Cabinet Secretary. We are not here to protect a person. We are here to protect an institution and the law. Only. In fact, none of them is a brother of any here, I believe.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, if that is the position, and we all want to see service given to Kenyans, how would we sit here and say, as we finalize the regulations and the laws to come to Parliament, then this kind of a thing, we'll just let it sit in the offices and the people are waiting?
Can I know whether those 20,000 titles
yes, even himself
are the RTA or they are freehold titles?
Mr. Chair, these are the ones that have come now lately after we did some of them that we have been doing in the last 6 months.
So they are freehold titles?
Some of them.
Or a chief land registrar still can sign?
Some not all of them can be signed by the chief land registrar. In actual fact, he has never been signing any titles. And he's sitting right here behind me.
Fine, I don't refuse that, madam. Can we know how many are RTA as a committee? Among that 20. So that we know how many are under RTA and how many are under freehold. Cap 300.
Freehold?
Yes, which could have been signed by any registrar, because the freehold titles can be signed by any other registrar under the chief registrar. Honorable Gitano, your hand was up.
Mr. Chair, sorry. Mr. Chair, they are both the leasehold and freehold. And I cannot tell you from the list that we have here how many of them are freehold and how many of them are leasehold.
Okay,
but I do know that there is a serious backlog.
We have tomorrow. we have tomorrow. So we still can get how many and how many. In that case, we can be able to compare whether it was the issue of one particular individual or it was an issue of a whole institution called the Ministry of Lands.
Again, Mr. Chair, sorry, I am not able to get this done today, to give you that tomorrow, because I'm talking about 20,000 titles that are all heaped together, that I now need to go. We have not digitized it, so I can't just get it and give it to you. But I know they are all there, you can see them physically.
At the moment, I'm trying to consult my co-chair, just like she's also consulting there. Please, members, hold on. Madam Cabinet Secretary was trying to consult us. You were consulting us all.
Yeah. Mr. Chair, can we just tell you what we were consulting on? Yes. Okay.
You can.
Thank you, Chair. I wish to respond to the issue whether the appointment of the Acting Director General is a substantive appointment, which is authorized by law for which now to be for which the document should be placed before the Parliament for approval. In my honest opinion, this is an interim mechanism which was just cobbled up because there was the anxiety on the part of the ministry to clear the backlog. This was an interim arrangement. We were looking at the spirit of the law in order to do justice to the great public.
I may not be a good lawyer.
Correct.
But first of all, refers to where a position of Director General is envisaged in the Act, so that at least the Cabinet Secretary can afford to appoint someone in acting capacity. You see, we are talking of a substantive area or clause in law that the Cabinet Secretary can afford to couple up.
Yes. Thank you. With the permission of the Honorable Minister, I want to believe that the Minister acted in pursuant of our powers under Article 153 of the Constitution, because like I did indicate to you, when the new land laws came into force, and I want to direct my mind to the attention of the Honorable members who are learned in legal profession, that under Section 12 of the Land Registration Act, there is envisaged the position of the Chief Land Registrar, whose mandate is to register titles. Because this particular position has not been filled up as required by the Constitution, there was a lacuna. There was a lacuna.
Order.
Yes.
Thank you so much, because of what you are talking of lacuna and those kind of things. In that case, we would have advised the Madam Cabinet Secretary to appoint someone in acting capacity of a Chief Land Registrar, because he's already invested in law.
Let me Chair.
Let me hear from the lawyer.
Chair, let me say this, and it is important for my learned colleague to listen. That you are making life difficult for the CS, and you seem to be beginning to justify the process. Your continued failure in this process, and I will tell you why. If you took your position as a legal mind, you could have actually known that the CS would legally have acted to appoint a Director General, if it is substantively provided for in the Land Registration Act. But State Council, it is not provided so. And so I wish you could actually stop where you stopped. But now when you want to make it even look like you are more right, I think you are not helping us, and you are not helping the CS. And that's why I was saying that you have a duty as a legal mind to direct. It would make sense if that position is provided for in an act of parliament. But where it is not, then it's not proper that the CS could do what you had. And I can now confirm that I think she has been doing it, or she did it because you advised her to do it.
Yes. No, no, Mr. Chair.
Secretary, you want to defend that?
No, Mr. Chair, I want to say here that having consulted amongst ourselves and having seen really what was happening in the ministry, that Mr. Chair, every single morning, over 100, 200, 300 people are coming for their titles. Are you telling me the right thing to do is not to gazette a person when I have some form of agreement with the executive order, and that this person then can continue to sign titles? In fact, the plan is that we need to actually gazette more people who will be signing these titles, because if it's only one person who will continue to sign these titles, you will never get these titles out there.
Madam Cabinet Secretary, I just want to ask a very simple question and give a little direction on an area thing that we have already talked about. That we wanted to know whether those titles are a Cap 300 or Cap 281. I give you up to around 3 p.m. tomorrow or 4. You will have done some progress, because you have some officers who are working also. And I'm happy you have the push, you have the energy. So I think we can afford to get some report on that. How many of the Cap 300, how many are Cap 281, so that at least we know where somebody is not working and where somebody else is working well. Two, not before information, Honor O'Neill. I don't want to. We want to give information.
Mr. Chair,
yes,
Mr. Chair, how will that help us if they are all being signed by one individual, one person? You know, because if our titles, freehold and leasehold are all going to be signed by one person, Mr. Chair.
I think the best option, Cabinet Secretary, I'm giving direction as a chair. So once we get the information, we should be able to know how to discern it as a committee. We don't know which direction we could be taking ourselves, because we cannot give you everything. The other thing is that one thing which is very necessary, Madam, is that I wanted to know if you originated an amendment of a bill today, and I know you've been in Parliament. How long do you think it can take you so that you can get out of this kind of a mess we are going through in terms of personalization of your work? How long do you think it can take? Because I wanted to believe an amendment to the law, even to the acts, would have been easier to give you that authority or leeway to do exactly what you are doing, Madam. How long do you think it can take?
Mr. Chair, actually, these are works in progress that we are trying to bring this, but it takes a bit of time. However, I personally didn't think at all, with what we have in the Constitution and in the Acts, that this was something that is so substantive that we needed to bring into Parliament. However, if this should be found necessary, then we would do so. But I want to warn each one of us that this will stay for much longer and not give people their title deeds. I mean,
which is not staying much longer, Madam?
Having to work on the bill and to bring it, the amendments, let me say here, Mr. Chair, I've noticed one thing. Mr.
And
Chair.
bring the regulations if you think that's the one that can come first.
Mr. Chair, let me just say one thing that I've noticed. All of us sitting in this room have a way of walking up to the Minister of Lands and getting what we want, but the poor cannot access. This I can tell you. None of the people sitting here have their land waiting here, their title waiting here. However, I would take the time and I'll start the process. The regulations and the rules are also in the making. But let us be very clear on how we want to serve Kenyans.
Madam, point of order. In fact, I'm happy of your drive, especially in trying to help the poor. But you see, that does not allow us to break the law. It does not allow us to break the law. Because it would have been better to assist this particular person forever, amen. Because if you look at it, if, for example, somebody went to court and cited some irregularity in terms of that title signing, then that poor man is the one initiated. So that's why I'm saying, please.
That word I don't think is parliamentary, Mr.
Okay,
Chair.
I withdraw. That will be a problem. So in other words, let's follow the law, but help the poor man. That's what I thought even honorable members can defend on that. Honorable Gitari, what did you want to say?
Chairman, it was along the same line, but I had one or two things too. I sympathize with the Cabinet Secretary, but I think the problem is the advisor. The Cabinet Secretary is doing things in goodwill, trying to assist the Kenyans, but not doing them legally. And the provision of the Article 153 they keep on citing, it really says that the Cabinet Secretary must act in accordance with the Constitution, the same Constitution they are breaking, Mr. Chairman. The other thing, if I had the Cabinet Secretary right, at one moment, she said that the position of Zabron Mabea was not gazetted anywhere. So, and I know from that time up to now, so many titles have been flying. What are you telling investors? What are you telling Kenyans? That the titles they have gotten within that time are illegal? Or what is the position? Madam CS.
In fact, you're very right what you have talked about the titles and investors. It is very unfortunate that the Minister of Lands has not had the kind of leadership and the drive, both from, if you want to say Parliament, from ourselves, the political will to ensure that actually we can bring investor confidence. I was only learning, Mr. Chair, today from the Kenya Bankers Association that about 1.3 trillion Kenya shillings are actually held as guarantee using land by banks. And what has happened today, Mr. Chair, is the double titling that is happening in that ministry. That is the same person who is signing this one title, this other title, all for one piece of land. And the banks will go and give you money. Once they've given you money, they hope they have got some clean title, only to come and be told this is a fake title. So these are some of the things that we need to address. And I appreciate what Mr. Gitari is saying and the concern that you're showing. But the problem in the Ministry of Land has got to be solved by somebody who is really willing and ready to do some of these things that look like they should not be done. Applying the law, sometimes even telling people, please take a walk. And they need to take a walk. A lot more people need to take a walk if that ministry is going to be cleaned. And let me also say here, we all know in this room that there's nothing more emotive than land. Land has seen bloodshed in this country, of the high and mighty, of the poor. And
Chairman,
this is some problem that we need to address.
On a point of order, Chairman.
Honorable Gitari, I think I just want to be very specific. Gitari just asked, are the titles that have been signed by one Mr. Mabea legal or not illegal for the period that he has been there without being gazetted? That's a simple question.
What I know about some of them are double titled, and we are having issues.
Chairman, my question, and I think, Chairman, with due respect, that's why we were saying that ministers should not be politicians. My question was very specific and very straight. I withdraw, Chairman.
You have to withdraw that for now.
Okay, I withdraw and apologize. My question is specific. I don't know, I'm not talking about double allocation, I know they are there. But I'm asking, that title which does not have any double allocation and was signed by Zabron Mabea after he was not gazetted as a land secretary, is it a genuine document? Is it a legal document or an illegal document? Just like that.
In addition, if it is a nation on the same line.
It's on the same line.
We also have this Director General who is in his acting capacity, so we don't know whether he will be the Director General or not, and he's going to be signing the titles. So I also want to know, the titles he's going to sign, are they also legal or illegal? Supposing he doesn't qualify for that position, then what?
Maybe just to add, Chair, thanks. Maybe just to add to what my colleagues have said. There's one major thing that we talked about, and that is the Gazette notice. Under which sections of the law? You know, that question was not substantively answered because if that is answered, it's going to guide a lot of what is coming up. Because if you quote the section of the law that really allows us to do that, then it will help. And that's why at that time, I raised the issue that if there is a council there, and the minister is really struggling with all these things, he should have brought it out very clearly, so that then these subsequent questions that are coming up on the issues of legalities, they can be addressed. Because we can have the drive, like what I'm seeing the CS having, to do something and correct a situation. But if also we're using a wrong paradigm, we'll end up with the same problem. And you can see this comes in when you have a council who says that there was some oversight. But in the process of saying that, he doesn't say how he's going to make sure that that is corrected, so that what the minister is doing is legal. Because if you just say oversight and you leave it there, and we continue with the same thing, then we will compound even the problems that we are having. So I really want to urge Chair and even the Cabinet Secretary that because of some of these emerging issues, on the issues of legalities and issues of good intention and issues of responsibility, they should be combined properly and give a substantive answer to this committee so that we move together. Because some of the allegations or some of the issues that are emerging here are so serious. Like when you say 1.6 trillion, you know, you are talking of a market economy, a free market like Kenya. What message is going to go out there tomorrow in terms of our economy? So I would really like our Chair that please let us first of all address issues of the law before we go into these so many other issues. And if there's not enough time to do that, or because the time that the ministry was given was not adequate, let us allow the CS to really put all these things together in terms of the law, and then the committee can be advised accordingly, instead of us coming up with so many issues that can really affect the economy of this country. Thank you, Chair.
Honorable Dr. Otuoma, somebody who is practicing doesn't require a lot of time to refer to a section. I want to believe the legal counsel is a lawyer. And he has been a practice. Therefore, when does he require even more time? And he has already misled. So all you need to do is just to get back and see where he misled the Cabinet Secretary. That's the difference. So I cannot afford to, as a chair, to give more time on Otuoma. Maybe the only thing we can say, the question was answered, only that it was answered partially. That they were not able to quote the right sections and satisfy the members. And that's what I want to, because that's what I saw the reaction. That they were not able to quote the sections that are referred to, or that have given the Cabinet Secretary the power to appoint that. But their question, there's a very pertinent question that has been asked by Honorable Gitali and Honorable Esther Morugi. But in addition to the same question, we are saying there is no DG in the Act. So if we sign, will it be legal? I think that's a fear. Will it be legal? That's a sign that we need to let her answer these three, those additions, or is it the same?
Mr.
The same line? Okay.
Mr. Chair, I think if we all